Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Stuffed Fables is kind of a Mice and Mystics jumping point. So Mice and Mystics was this great little adventure game from Plaid Hat Games that, to me, really was like their magnus opus. This was like their game that they were known for. It's a little adventure game that you could play with adults or their children and took you through a really neat story. Then we get Stuffed Fables, which is like even better almost in some ways. You have a book that opens up, a spiral book that is the board. You have these really cute characters that are going around. You know, and I pitched this theme years ago for a game, and I kept getting told over and over again, change the theme, change the theme, change the theme. And I've loved this theme. So now that I actually see it in practice in a game, I think it's fantastic. And I really like this theme, especially for kids. So the miniatures look great. The stories are fantastic. It's very easy to play. I like the dice system, although it's a little complicated. I'm not sure little kids can play on their own. I'd probably strictly put this in the family group. You're going to need an adult probably to run this or an older kid because there's so much different dice that are going on. But it's a really, really, really fun game. Now, the question I inevitably get asked with this game a lot is, can I play this as an adult? Yes, but it might be a little simple. So what I'll say is, like, if you're used to playing Descent or Imperial Assault, this is going to be quite a bit stepping back in rules complexity to play this. Sure, you can have a great time. If the theme doesn't bother you and you want to jump in, go for it. But it's going to be much simpler and know that going in. Now, it's not a kid's game per se. I don't see, 5 and 6-year-olds playing this game by themselves. You're going to need somebody to run it. So you're like, okay. It's almost like a filler game for people who like dungeon crawls. Is that fair? You have to roll with the theme, putting that aside, but it's just that simple. Now, if you're in a dungeon crawls and you want to play a game with your children, guys, this is the one to get. Pass up Mice and Mystics, put that number 2, because Mice and Mystics is different than this one. Start here. It's fantastic. Now, if you're a light gamer and you're saying, you know what, I've looked at this dungeon crawls, but they look really, really complicated. Start here. This is a great jumping off point. It's a little bit above what a kid would do, and it's almost like a gateway game for dungeon crawlers, right? And it works beautifully. And play with your family. Play this with your children. This is the game to get. This game is fantastic to play with your kids. This is one that you want to do. Once you get through Labyrinth and kind of those easy, like really young kids, totally do this. And with my younger kid that couldn't read and he didn't really understand the rules, I was like, here's the story. You're going to roll a dice. I made him like the dice roller for me and him, and his older sister rolled the dice for her. And he became the dice roller, and he was involved, and I let him make decisions, but I was putting those walls up. I was putting those rules up. Here are the rules. You can do this, or you can attack him. Do you want to attack him? The game's really easy where you want to get stuff, and then you want to attack. So it's really simple in that complexity. Even if the kids can't read, you can play this and kind of read for them and still let them make decisions, still let them roll the dice, still let them have fun, and it can be totally inclusive for them. So this is one I think should be in your collection. If you have grandkids, you have kids, you're thinking about getting kids, go ahead and grab this one. I'm sure there's going to be expansions for it. This is a great system to build off of. Loved it quite a bit. As you can already tell, this is going to be a keeper. Mine are being painted right now, and this game is fantastic and one I do enjoy quite a bit. Here's Stuffed Fables. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Look at the moon and the characters in the game and the adventure they're going on. Just striking. Plaid Hat Games knocks it out of the park with this one. What you're going to get when you get inside is you're going to see the little characters that you'll play, and you can see that you're going to have a character sheet with the little stuffies, the hearts and powers, and a nice illustration here. And you get Lumpy, Theodora, Flops, and Lionel. And Piggle will also be in there. I'm going to get a little paper tells you read this first. This is kind of like warning you not to go through the decks. Hard plastic here with the track that you'll have. Now here's the rule book that you'll get. We'll go through that in detail. And I'm not going to show you any spoilers here, but here's a storybook. You can see that it's spiral here, which is really nice. And this will kind of be the board that you're playing off of, which is really cool. So we'll put that aside. Now I have the insert here. Insert, which is fantastic. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. And it's one of the reasons why I went out and got this, because it was really needed for this game. You can tell that this comes out. So without this, you're just going to have a really generic one where everything is just kind of sitting across. But let's go ahead and go through these. The cards here are really nice. I really like it. You can see the items they have are really kid-friendly. It does require some reading in this game, so if you have younger kids, but you can help them along with that. So you're going to get quite a few decks of cards.
You're going to have your story deck. This isn't a spoiler, but these will be going through, and the card quality is really good. You have a few little small cards that you'll be utilizing during the game for different stuff. You're going to have these nice little tokens that will come out, very high quality. These hearts you'll be using for your life points and whatnot during the game. You're going to have some cardboard things like this. This is something that your characters may ride during the game. You're going to have a big bag that will be utilized for the dice. And then you'll have these little small dice inside of different colors. Didn't really have any problems with that. I'll look at the minis last. Now, some of these buttons, they're used for different things you'll be collecting to trade in. I had some on mine that were broken, but they're just little small buttons, just generic stuff. Here is the stuffing that you'll have. You'll have black side and white side on them. And these are really nice cardboard pieces to have. And let me go through some of the minis here. So here is a bad guy that you will see. You can see it's got really good details. I'm about to have mine painted here shortly. And you're going to have a little piece. This will be a bad guy toy that will come after people in this one. Here is another one. You can see that hole going through it. Do you see that? Great detail right there. And then you'll have one of the main bad guys. And you can just see that there's been a lot of detail and care put in these miniatures, especially for a children's game. I mean, they look fantastic. Here is Piggle, one of our heroes in the game. And all these are just going to be gray. You've seen that one. Here's one of the most impressive ones, this big giant one. If big means impressive to you, with all the hands coming out of it, which just looks great. Here's another one of the bad guys that will be utilized in the game. I always like this one quite a bit with the meat cleaver. Which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? But you can see the detail here where he's been stitched back together, because these all represent stuffed animals that have been lost and pieces put together. There's another one of our heroes here. You can see that plunger. It's so cute. And here's Flopsy. Here's Lionel. And hopefully you can see the level of detail here. Do you see that right there on his chest? Very courageous. Here's Effie. It's the one I always end up playing because it's the character that I get stuck with after all the kids pick. Theodora, who I like to consider our main character. My daughter loves teddy bears, so this is the one that she always is. And thankfully it's a female. And one more bad guy for your taste. So these are the components. The miniatures are just fantastic. Like I said, this insert is just insert here. Rob Steering does a fantastic job. You can see it's all well organized. I just pull this stuff out and it works completely. Now for the rule book, you're going to have two things here. You're going to have your storybook. And I'm just going to show you the first one. You're going to see this as soon as you end up playing. So you're going to have like a picture, and you're going to have like your setup and your storyline and what's going on. And this will be utilized for your board over here. No spoilers. This is, as soon as you open up the book and want to play the first scenario, you're going to see that page. But that's not really, you'll see like scenario specific rules kind of there. But this will be the main rule book that you will have. And you'll see components, no pictures, boo, but the pictures will all be over here with a description of what they are, which is great. You're going to have a picture of the game setup with numbers and how they correspond. And then the page setup of kind of what you're doing here. And then you go through a player turn, kind of how things can work and the different actions that you may have and how you attack, etc. And then there'll just be the minions and how they will activate and go through in the end of the game and defending and collapsing, and a glossary at the back. I found the rulebook to be okay. I didn't find it to be the greatest rulebook in the world. I had probably a 7 out of 10, but I think that you can get through it pretty easily. There's not a whole lot of things here, and then you can utilize it and so forth. But I did have some questions afterwards I had to go to the Board Game Geek for. So on your turn, what you'll do is you'll draw 5 dice from the bag, and each one of the dice is going to do something different. Now, the dice do not match up in color. This die is obviously orange, but they're going to call it red. So be used to that. The first thing you'll do is you'll take and you'll roll the dice, and you have your numbers that you will do. So the first thing is roll the white one, and this is how much stuffing you will get. So very easily, you'll just take, because I rolled a 3 on it, and I will get 3 stuffing to put on my character. And you're going to have this little chart over here, and what you're going to do is you're going to put the black die on this. And what this chart over here is going to do is going to have your bad guys. What you do is you'll take any black dice and just put it at the top here where your bad guys will be. And the remaining dice you'll be able to take actions with, and each of the different types of dice will do something different depending on what color they are. So you're going to have red, green, yellow, blue, and purple. And these are the different types of dice that you're going to have. The red ones will allow you to do melee attack, and if you're next to somebody, then you can attack them with the dice. Green will allow you to do a ranged attack, and if you're within a ranged ability, you would be able to do that kind of attack. The yellow will allow you to search when there's certain spots on the board that can be searched. If you happen to be there or have a character there, then you will be able to search that location and look for items. The blue has no unique action that is attached to it, and the purple works as kind of a wild card or will substitute for any other color. So there's a few different actions you can take on your turn. You can use any of your dice and you can move. So if I wanted to use these 2 dice to move, I could move my guy. 6 plus 2 would be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. Or I can take a dice and I can hold it back. If something I don't want to use, I can put it on my player sheet up here, and I or another player can utilize it on another turn. Or if I want to, I could take a die and put it on another player's board and on a reserve. Or I could give this die up and give another player a stuffy, which kind of works as your life points, if you will. Sometimes you'll just have skill tests that you have to pass, and they'll say, a yellow skill test. So you'll need a yellow, and you will roll that die to see if you got a number high enough. And remember, purple can be wild, so you might want to take 2 of yours and say, okay, I'm going to do the skill test, and I'm going to roll a 9 instead of just having just the yellow die, which would have been a 6. Sometimes, in addition, there'll be group tasks, and that's what this is for. You do a group test. It might say, orange group test, and you have to get a certain number. So on your turn, you'll have these. You might want to put your orange over here, and you're adding these up until you break the group test. So let's say you wanted to do a melee attack, and I got a sand shovel, which would require you to have one of these, which will tell you it's a melee weapon in order to do a melee attack. When performing a melee attack, add 1 to the red dice results. So let's say, once again, I had red, which is orange, and let's say I had 2 of these orange and a purple. So I could roll this, and that would be my attack. 2, 3, 4. The shovel gives me a +1 to each red die, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be what I would be attacking with. Each bad guy is going to have a defense that he will have. If you're higher than the defense, then you do a wound to him. If you defeat one of the bad guys, then you can earn yourself a button that can be utilized later to grab more items. A ranged attack will work the same way, but you will need something that says a ranged attack, in this case a yo-yo, and everything will work exactly the same, except for you won't be able to roll red dice. You will have to roll the green dice in order to do a ranged attack. At the end of your turn, you will discard all the dice that you use. They won't go back into the bag until the bag is empty. You'll just discard those when your round is over. Now, if the black dice on this ever equals or exceeds the number of minions on the track, then you will activate. So at the end of your turn, if it only had 2, but there were 3 minions, they would not activate. But if I got 3 or even 4 over here, then they would activate on their turn. After they activate, you take off all of the dice, and then that kind of part of the game would restart. But if these dice are here, what you would do is you would take these dice and you would roll it for each person, and on their card, they will activate in a certain way depending on what you rolled. So, for example, here, if I rolled a 1 or 4, they would haunting gibberish. You would move 3, and then they can have attack, blah, blah, blah. 5 and 6, it would do a spooky screech, and they would move in this way, attacking and such, with a little bit stronger of an attack. Depending on what die you rolled is how they would activate. Now, their attack would work with their power being listed here, with, in this case, 4. If they did this one, would be a 5. And then you can use any die that you have stored. You have a defensive die that you can utilize here by rolling. Then you would just remove stuffing from your character if you took any damage, and then you would proceed with the game. Now, that's a general overflow of what you'll be doing on a turn. There's some other things that will happen, like if your stuffy collapsed, or you can go around, you can buy items that you're going to have, and you can buy those from the item deck. You're going to meet characters and talk to them and going on adventures. But I just wanted to show you a little bit about how this works and how simple it is, where you're really just choosing your dice. And everybody's going to get one of these player aids that will be with them. And the kids, especially if they can read, can easily see what each die does. And if you want to flub the rules a little bit, you know, if you're playing with your family, that's fine. But that's a general overview where these guys will activate by drawing the dice. And when the black dice comes out, that's when the minions will activate. But in the meantime, you're kind of around, you're fighting, you're rolling some dice to fight, you have your items that are fun, and most of these are household items. You can see there's a archery set, but you can see that it has like a plunger on it. The cleaver, that one's a little bit questionable. The skateboard, you know, you have a yellow cap, a sand bucket, a plastic helmet, glue, and it has a power here. So discard this card before rolling a threat die for minion's activation. The figure cannot move this activation. You're going to have a slingshot, classic kid. Candy, discard this card, remove all status cards from the stuffy and gain 1 heart. A denim vest, a sewing kit. So the items are like household things that you would have around. Very, very cute and very fun to play. And it's very easy to play for kids. It's not going to be a problem at all.
Who should buy this game? Now, I'm going to talk kids aside for a second. Let's say you're adults and you don't have any kids. If you're into lighter gaming and you've been wanting to tip your toes in the dungeon crawls and they kind of scaring you off, start here, especially if the theme doesn't bother you. Because the theme is going to be a little bit childish, but it's also really, really cute. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're a Disney fan, you're going to be able to jump right into this. Okay, let's put adults aside. So lighter gamer adults, I don't know how many hardcore dungeon crawlers are going to play unless it's like some kind of filler for them. I don't know. If you have kids or play games with kids or are thinking about playing games with kids, if you have grandkids, kids, might be having kids soon, this is a pretty good game to get into and they will really, really like it. I would say probably start the kids out at 4 or 5. If they're not reading yet, you can read for them. Try to push the game along for time purposes. You might need to cut some corners. When they get to be 7, 8 years old, they're going to be able to play this and have a really, really good time. That's always going to depend on your child, where their reading level is, what their attention span is. So those are not hard and fast ages, but I think that will fit well for this. And then going up and up and up, I think people can have a great time with this system. This is a family game. This is fantastic because what it's going to do for your family is you're going to sit down and you're going to play something and you can come back to it next week when it's game night again or the next night or 2 nights from now or whatever. And you can pick up a new adventure as you see fit. Fantastic family game. One I really, 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 really recommend you picking up. Stuffed Fables. High keeper on my list. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.